things we have exceeded by...
Okay. I'll summarize. I'll conclude my reading. We submit that Section 166 of the CPC is applicable in this matter. For the very reasons we have annexed, outlined in our submissions, and that the court finds that the accused did not have the necessary mens rea and was mentally ill at the time of the commission of the offense.
Finally, on my part, the state will be relying on the evidence on record for the purpose of proving that we have presented a case beyond reasonable doubt that the accused person should be found guilty for the offense of murder. Moving on 18th of October. Yes. Criminal case number 15 of 2018. Colin Okoth Obado, Onesimus Mwanzia Kijaga, Rashid Brian Mondi.
Basi mtakuwa siku ya kusikizwa hii maombi yenu ya board kule registry, sababu wakili wenu inaonekana hawakujulishwa kuhusu siku ya leo. Kesi inakuja kusikizwa tarehe 22, 33 na tarehe 14 mwezi wa 10. Criminal case number 21 of 2018, this person Johnston Migori Wajiro. Unasemaje? Wakili wako ni Mrs. Kinyori, kote tawaeleza wakuja waone. Johnson, Migori.
Advocate is on record for the defense. The same has been listed for bail application.
Wakili hapo wapi? Basi utachukua siku zingine za kusikizwa kule ofisi. Kesi inakuja kusikizwa tarehe 19 mwezi wa 11. Kwa hivyo kabla siku hiyo utakuwa rumande. Criminal case number 69 of 2014, Andrew Jentu Bekera. Please, your ladyship. My name is Karaoke. I appear for the accused person.
My DJ hold reforms. My sister Miss Onunga, who is away on official duties. My lady, since the defense is sworn, I'm not in a position to proceed. I'll be praying for a date next week when my sister will be back.
case number 55 of 2017. Paul Miano Mudhoni. Paul Miano.
Good morning, Your Ladyship. In the matter of Nyaga, for the accused. My lady, are present for the state. Two witnesses were bonded. My lady, unfortunately, I'm told they are unwell today.
Good morning, I'm Olive Barrows, and those were live pictures from the Milimani Law Courts, where Migori Governor Okoth Obado is among those expected to be arraigned over the murder of 26-year-old university student Sharon Otieno and her unborn child. Others who we expect to be charged are Michael Juma Oyamo, who is personal assistant to the governor, and he will be charged with the offense of murder, while the governor will be charged with the offense of aiding and abetting the commission of a felony termed murder. The third person who will be arraigned is Kaspal Ojwang Obiero, and of course that is according to the Director of Public Prosecutions, who is a personal assistant to the governor, and he will be charged with the offense of aiding and abetting the commission of the felony termed murder. Yesterday we saw some residents of Migori take to the streets and demand the release of their governor, who has been in police custody since Friday. Well, on keeping with that story, Sharon Otieno's mother says she is satisfied with the handling of investigations into the murder of her daughter, despite continued threats and intimidation from unknown persons. Hours before, Migori Governor Okoth Obado was set to be arraigned at the Milimani Law Courts today to face murder charges. Some youth demonstrated against Obado's arrest. NTV's Seth Olale with the latest update on the pursuit for justice for the late Sharon.
Melida Auma, mother of the late Sharon Otieno, clings to her daughter's picture as she hopes for justice.
With
the late Sharon's prominent boyfriend set to appear in court Monday, Sharon's parents are hopeful.
Vile uchunguzi unaendelea, nimefurahi sana. Hao watu wa halali. Vile Sharon mwenyewe na baby Mashaka halali. Hawa ma detectives pia walali.
But there is a sense of unease in the home. The family has been receiving threats from unknown persons. The latest victim being Sharon Otieno's uncle, Victor Ochola. Ochola has recorded a statement to the police claiming he was attacked by an armed gang of more than 5 people who had an intention to abduct him. They had intended to bundle him into a car parked outside his house, but he escaped after raising an alarm and the attackers fled.
Some other 3 guys came with pangas and in his sock. He struggled until they took his phone, his purse, na pesa, na ID zake imeenda. After the death of Sharon, quite tempting for the whole family.
As Sharon's family appeals for protection, supporters of Okoth Obado took to the streets of the governor's hometown in Uriri, demanding for his immediate release. The group, which momentarily disrupted traffic from his Rapogi village to Uriri shopping center, claimed that Obado's detention and link to Sharon Otieno's murder was political.
Watafute polepole. Hii haujahusika na mambo ya accounts zake. Tafadhali watoe governor, watufanyie kazi.
However, some residents say the law should be allowed to take its course.
It's a shame for us from Migori County to have a governor like that.
Obado was arrested on Friday and he is spending the 3rd night at the Gigiri police station in Nairobi. He will appear in court Monday. The murder case implicating Okoth Obado is scheduled to start at exactly 9 a.m. at the Milimani Law Courts situated right behind me on Monday. However, the Migori governor will be brought way much earlier for the case processing. Meanwhile, security is expected to be beefed up before, during and after Monday's session. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
That was Seth Olale bringing us that report from the family of the late Sharon Otieno. Of course, the family says she will not be laid to rest until justice is done. While the Director of Public Prosecutions, in a statement released earlier today, has detailed the events that transpired prior and following Sharon's demise. And he says on the 3rd of September, they received a report at Cadell Patrol Base of an alleged abduction of one Barak Odor, that is, of course, a Nation journalist who says he was abducted together with Sharon Otieno, and the abduction was carried out by 4 unidentified men along the Homa Bay Road. The 2 victims had immediately before the abduction been with one Michael Oyamo, who is also facing charges and who, as I mentioned earlier, is a personal assistant to the Migori governor, Okoth Obado. Investigations immediately commenced to trace the whereabouts of Sharon, who was heavily pregnant at the time of their abduction. The investigations established that that a motor vehicle whose registration is KCL 481K, a Toyota Fielder, which was dark gray in color, was used in the alleged kidnapping of Sharon and Barak. Sharon's body was later found a day later, a day after Barak filed that report with the police, and that was on the 4th of September, and it was found in a thicket near Oyugis town. The vehicle was intercepted on the 16th of September within Migori town, and the driver is Jackson Otieno Gombe, who was found with the vehicle. The vehicle is said to operate as a taxi within Migori County. And it's registered in the name of one Olivia Olo Adhiambo, who is an employee of the county government of Migori. In addition, it was established that Olivia, in whose name the car was registered, is married to Kaspal Ojwang, who is also the governor's personal assistant and who is also facing charges for aiding and abetting the crime of murder. And Kaspal also works for the county of Migori. The car track system in the vehicle was deactivated on the 3rd of September. That is the day of the incident, the day that Sharon Otieno and Barak Odwor were taken captive, and reactivated the following day, that is on the 4th of September. And the DPP says this was clearly a calculated move by the killers to conceal the movement of the vehicle in question. Further, it was established that an intimate relationship existed between Zakaria Okoth Obado, that is the Migori governor, which subsequently led to a pregnancy with the deceased girl, that is Sharon Otieno. And the governor said he was, the statement, to read it exactly, is that it was established that an intimate relationship existed between Zakaria Okoth Obado, who is the governor of the county of Migori, which subsequently led to a pregnancy with the deceased, and that the governor was unhappy about that pregnancy. As such, the persons featuring prominently in the case so far were either employees of the county government or close acquaintances of the governor, assigned to handle the matter carefully to avoid public ridicule and political backlash. Sharon and her baby lost their lives in a gruesome and horrifying manner. According to the autopsy report, she was stabbed 8 times, as was her fetus. She was 7 months pregnant, and she was a university student at the Rongo University. And so based on all this information, the links going back to the governor will be charged with the offense of aiding and abetting the commission of a felony, and together with his 2 personal assistants, that is Michael Oyambo, who is a former military man, and Kaspal Ojwang Obiero, whose vehicle was used in the committing of that abduction. In addition, the Director of Public Prosecutions has directed that the hitmen and any other persons who have been adversely mentioned in connection with the matter are pursued and arrested. His office shall also continue to review the case as further evidence is collected and arrests are made. He says he's constituted a team of senior prosecutors to undertake the prosecution of the matter immediately. the various leaders across the country have weighed in on that matter and called for swift justice, including the governor for Nairobi, Mike Sonko, who initially was very vocal in linking the governor to the crime committed against Sharon Otieno and her unborn child. Others who have spoken about it is the senator for Makueni. That would be Kilonzo Jr., Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who also called for today. That is as the DP governor, yes, facilitated by Michael Oyamo, who is here on the left, who is a governor's personal assistant. He's a former Navy man, and according to the Nation, the governor's Mr. Fix-It, Obado introduced him. Yes, the paper says Obado introduced him as the man to deal with issues relating to Miss Otieno. He called Miss Otieno and set up the meeting after which she was abducted, and his movements on the night of her death are critical to the case. Those are two of the people who were involved in that particular saga. That is Barack Odwor and Michael Oyamo. Then there's, of course, Kaspal Ojwang Obiero, who is the governor's PA. The car used in the abduction was his wife's, and a meeting was held at his home on the day of the kidnapping. That is, of course, on the 3rd of September. The other gentlemen involved in the case are a former MCA, and that is Lawrence Obonyo Mula, who was arraigned before a Kisi court, and the prosecution asked for more time to investigate him. Apparently, he brought Miss Otieno to Barack Odwor's attention. He was looking for a journalist to write her story, and he became sort of an informal mediator, acting on behalf of Miss Otieno in negotiations with Mr. Obado. As was already established, the child Sharon was carrying was the governor's undisputedly. According to the Nation, that was 99.99%, according to the DNA report. The other gentleman who is involved in that saga is Omondi Okoth Elvis, a police constable and who was acting as a governor's bodyguard. He instructed the driver to pick up Mr. Oyamo and attended the meeting in Mr. Obiero's house. And finally, we have Jackson Otieno Gombe, who was the driver of the grey Toyota Fielder, the KCL 481K, who got instructions from the governor's bodyguard, and that is Omondi Okoth Elvis, to pick up Miss Oyamo at Uriri, and he was possibly present throughout the abduction and killing of Miss Otieno. Now let's get the latest from the Milimani Law Courts. We are joined by Ken Mijungu. Ken, what's the latest? What is happening?
Right, thank you very much, Olive. And of course, the court has just adjourned briefly, and we expect next we'll have this case presided over by Justice Joyce Lesit. And we are not sure because there was a lot of matters that were ahead of that. She just cleared some criminal matters that were before her, and she's taken a break, ordering that the court to be reorganized. So we expect that the governor will be presented in court next, Olive. And of course, you have made a very comprehensive statement based on the reporting by Nation on this case and what to expect. But this morning, Kenyans, of course, woke up to the letter from the Directorate of, from the DPP rather, preparing charges and instructing the prosecutors to move to court to charge the governor with criminal offenses. So when the court convenes next, Olive, we expect perhaps this will be the first case, and we already know that the governor was brought to Milimani very early in the morning. He's still in the holding cells, and we've not been able to see him, but of course we were fortunate to get the pictures when he was arriving earlier on in the morning, and probably we'll have the pictures on AI shortly. And then we know also that the other co-accused are not appearing with him in court today, because this is basically a session there whereby he will take plea based on the charges that will be preferred against them. We vaguely know about the charges, which is aiding and abetting murder, and of course very comprehensive statement from the DPP, except it's not really put out its case out in the letter that was sent to the public regarding this case, but the details of this case will emerge as the proceedings go. But what we expect now is just taking plea with the guilty or not guilty, and from that, the prosecution is able to proceed. But also based on that, we expect an application of bail. Obviously, he's been in custody from last week, Friday. So there's a lot of things to expect today, but probably the first thing will be that taking plea, then after taking plea, probably now they'll do a bail application, Olive.
Okay. Who is representing the governor? Who forms his legal team?
So far, we know this criminal matter is being held, is being brought on behalf of the governor with the criminal lawyer Cliff Ombeta. We're sure Cliff, we've seen him a lot. He's also been speaking a lot. So probably over the weekend, the defense team has changed. But as at last week, we are certain that Cliff Ombeta is leading this criminal case. Olive.
Okay, is the courtroom packed with his supporters, and what are the security arrangements like?
As expected, it's packed to the brim. In fact, when Justice Lecit left the courtroom, he ordered the security to reorganize the courtroom and said that anyone who is standing is to leave the courtroom. But as expected, you still must find a few people standing here and there. The journalists must be standing. The benches are full with members of the bar. And of course, outside there's a lot of activity. Right at the entrance of Milimani Law Courts, there are lots of people being from that county. I've noticed a lot of people from that county also, of course, in solidarity with the governor. Outside the courtroom is even full, Olive. You don't even have space to stand outside because there's a lot of people. The security arrangements inside the court, we have several security personnel. From where I'm standing, I can see a policeman sitting just next to where the judge will be sitting. Right at the door. There are about 2 APs. Inside where people are standing, there are our other policemen who have just left, I think, because they've let a lot of people out. So from the pictures you can see the content or the number of people in court have reduced drastically on instruction of the judge. But yes, the courtroom is very full. Olive.
Do we have any idea who will be presenting the state's case?
It could be the DPP. I have not seen anyone from the DPP's office. I've just seen lawyers on the bench. I've seen quite a number of them, but I'm not certain who will be leading this case. But it has to be one person. It has to be someone from the DPP's office who will be leading this case. But I have been able to see Peter Opondo Kelumba, the Homa Bay Member of Parliament. I don't know where he stands, but this girl was from his constituency. So I'm suspecting probably he will be representing the family, but that's not clear yet. But I've been able to see him in court, plus a host of other lawyers. Cliff Ombeta himself is not here. Rogers is not here, but I see ladies. Oh, Cliff has just arrived. I can see him. You can see him now in the pictures. He's standing right there. He's just arrived. I'm not used to seeing him in the robes. I couldn't get to see him earlier, but that is the picture of Cliff. He's in court currently, plus a host of other lawyers. But from the DPP side, I'm not clear who's leading this case, Olive.
Okay, so are you in the High Court? Is that where matters to do with murder are handled?
Yes, definitely. It is. That's where we are.
Okay, and what can we expect in your experience? What do we expect in terms of what will transpire?
Pretty simple this morning. Just come, Obado will be arraigned at the dock, just where you can see, just beyond where Cliff is standing right now. He'll be held there and he'll be asked to stand at some point and he'll be asked to take plea, guilty or not. Then next, I think what the lawyers will be doing is to ask for or to apply for bail, and that will be the discretion of the judge. Of course, as expected, the prosecution is going to oppose this. He's a high-profile member of the society. He's still a sitting governor. He's not a flight risk. We know he's resident, but you expect those things to come up in the application by the prosecution. They'll want to resist this, and also because he has a lot of influence, they might also bring up the matter of probably influencing the witnesses or interfering with the witnesses. All those matters will come out. They'll try to tell the judge, give the reasons why he should not be released on bail. And top of it, from my experience, will be interfering with the witnesses or ability to interfere with the witnesses holding that position. And his very close aides have been mentioned in this. You mentioned them at the top. So you expect the prosecution to be very firm and submit their case and tell the judge, these are the reasons why we don't want you to release him on bail. The other reason that might suffice all this is the fact that they're still doing investigations. There's a lot of connections. There's a lot of loose ends, not strictly speaking, but loose ends in that they still need to collaborate a lot of their evidence and have a watertight case. But also my experience with the current DPP, you never never just come to court to present half-baked cases. So this is one of them. But from the corridor talks, there's a lot of whisper in terms of the charges that we have seen in the sheet from the DPP. They say accessory to murder, aiding or abetting murder. They look at it as very flimsy charges, but those will be determined during the trial. For now, our expectation is to take plea, guilty or not guilty. Then obviously it will be a not guilty, and then they will begin the process, set a hearing date, and then they will do the bail application. After the bail application, it will be set. If the judge feels that you should not hold him further, they can still do investigation, then he'll be released on bail. Every case in this country nowadays is illegal. Then they'll handle the case from outside Olive, but that's basically the two major things that are happening in court this morning.
Okay, and DNA evidence seems to be a big part of the prosecution's case. Is it admissible?
Yes, it is, and that's why it was ordered for. It's conclusive. DNA is always a very good evidence, so to say, because it's conclusive, especially with expert evidence. And in this case, that's one of the things that will play out. So bring in experts, probably Cliff would want to bring his own expert, probably to discount the theory of the police and discount the DNA if it was not done independently or who did it. So it's a big thing here, because that then gives a direct link to Obado, the unborn child, a fact that is not denied previously, that is the father of the child, or he might have not spoken about it publicly, but that is conclusive, because in criminal cases, Olive, you must have three elements. There must be the mental, there must be the status of mind, then there must be, so the three crumble of the established that about being in very that is going first, probably is just around it's brought up by the to bring it this statement arraigned in court. So they know he's not the hitman, but they believe that he planned for it. All the links that you've been drawing, the way Nation has been reporting and other outlets, all those links point to the fact that he may be behind this. So yes, unless the prosecution brings it up, I don't think the defense is likely to bring it up, unless of course they want to use it as a strategy. But usually in criminal cases that only happens when they are the direct they are directly connected, in that they're the people who committed the murder, or they're the hitmen. They like to see, if, for example, it was a homicide, they like to see his state of mind, because usually it's pleaded by the defense side. They say, I was not in the right state of mind when I committed the murder, or I was not, I was intoxicated. So they have to bring that aspect, or sometimes some mistake, and they get this probably rush of emotions. I'm unable to control myself. I did it, but that happens directly to the person who does it, Olive.
Okay. How much of what has transpired in the court of public opinion is likely to influence what will happen now in the actual courts of law?
Quite a lot. It shouldn't happen, but everyone is human. It happens because there's a direction. If you see, for the last 3 weeks or so, Kenyans have been on this case, Olive, and what they want to see, they want the killers behind bars. They want some blood drawn. They want the perpetrators of this heinous act, as it's been called, to be behind bars. They want justice for Sharon. So even as the judge sits there, that little element of Kenyan's public opinion influences, because at the end of the day, the law is the law. It has to take its course. He might be innocent, he might be guilty, and if he's innocent, or alternatively, he may not be innocent, but so long as it's not sufficient case, believe me, criminal law will let him off the hook. That's why it has to be a watertight case. But on the flip side, you're looking at a populace that are eager, because there's so many resolved murders, Olive. There's so many. Right now, there are two more. We are looking at the young girl who was killed in Meru. We're looking at the young boy who did a story yesterday, also was found in a banana plantation. And we're looking at Jacob Juma, still unresolved. We are looking at a lot of murders. So at least Kenyans are looking at this case and thinking we need to see. And for this, there being a high-profile person behind it, they're really looking at the court, and they're thinking the court needs to deliver justice. So in the court of public opinion, justice is only one way, Olive. They have to get a conviction of this high-profile person, but still the law is the law, and it has to take its course. If the prosecution presents a weak case, believe me, the judges are not in the business of determining cases that are frivolous or that are weak, and they're not in. They use the presentation from the defense and prosecution to convict. In their own way, they are unable to do it unless the case is supported by facts. So regardless of what the public thinks about this case, it has to be on the evidence, on the probable value of this evidence. That is the only way to nail or acquaint to the suspects. Olive?
Okay, thank you very much. Ken will stay with that story and keep bringing us the latest from the Milimani Law Courts, where Migori Governor, together with two others, those are his PAs, Michael Oyamo and Kaspal Obiero, are also expected to be arraigned, and that is on the instruction of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji. Now, let's look at the timeline and the charges they will be facing. Well, Zakaria Okoth Obado will be charged with the offense of aiding and abetting the commission of the felony termed murder. Just a few days ago, he held a press conference and he was flanked by his wife and his two children, and he asked Kenyans to hold off on drawing any conclusions until investigations are complete. But according to the information and the evidence so far gathered, the DPP believes he has a case to answer. His two PAs, that is Michael Juma Oyamo, who is a former Navy man, will also be charged with aiding and abetting the commission of the felony termed murder. And we'll have Kaspal Ojwang Obiero also being charged with the offense of aiding and abetting the commission of the felony termed murder. The vehicle that was used in the alleged abduction belonged to Kaspal Obiero's wife, and she's called Olivia Adhiambo. The gentleman who was found driving that vehicle when it was recovered on the 16th of September is a gentleman by the name of Sharon Otieno Gombe. That follows the 3rd of September abduction of Barak Odwor, who is a Nation Media Group journalist, together with Sharon Otieno. According to his account of events, they met at a hotel where they were invited by the governor's PA, Michael Oyamo. They got into a vehicle where they were told they would be driven, to meet the governor. Thereafter, he says they were put in between two heavy-set men who roughed them up before he jumped out of the vehicle and crawled to get assistance and report the matter to police. Thereafter, a search for Sharon Otieno commenced. Her body was found a day later, and that is on the 4th of September. And her body was recovered at in a thicket near Oyugis town. And the vehicle that I had mentioned earlier that was recovered on the 16th of September is a KCL 481 Toyota Fielder, which is dark gray in color, and that vehicle has been impounded by the authorities. Several DNA tests have been carried out, including to determine who the father of Sharon Nancy. And also of course, what has also implicated the governor is the role played by the people around him, and those most prominently are the two PAs, that is Kaspal Obiero and Michael Oyamo. Others who have been implicated are the former MP Lawrence Mula, who was arraigned before a Kisi court, and the court granted the prosecution, or rather the state, more time to carry out investigations on what role, if any, he may have played in Sharon's abduction. Apparently, the MCA brought Sharon to, or rather linked Sharon together with a Nation journalist, Barak Odwor. The other gentleman who has been linked to the events that transpired is Omondi Okoth Elvis, who is the governor's who was the governor's bodyguard, and he is a serving policeman. And of course, there is Jackson Otieno Gombe, who was found, or rather who is suspected of having driven the vehicle when Sharon Otieno was taken captive. You can send in your thoughts, your responses to this particular story, what your expectations of the court process is. You can send those through to NTV Kenya. That is on Twitter and on Facebook. In about half an hour, we'll be starting NTV Today.